Hey, what's up guys, it's Sambo with Battle Boys here, and today's topic we're doing in celebration of the new Shang Chi release, and we're going to be talking about the top 10 best martial artists in all of the Marvel Universe. So this is our first video. Obviously we're going to need some introductions. Like I said, I'm Sambo. Today we're going to be covering this topic with our good buddy Kev. Kev, say hi to the people.
Hey there guys, Lord Kev here.
Yeah, and like I said, we're just going to be covering the top 10 best martial artists in all of Marvel, and we're going to be mostly covering, obviously, raw martial arts skill, close quarters combat feats, statements and showings, basically what their knowledge and mastery is in certain martial arts, the known teachers they've had, and just the stupid, impossible anime stuff that they can do with just martial arts. And one important thing kind of need to mention is a lot of times people will use sparring matches as kind of gospel for the skills of a certain character. We're not going to do that here, basically. Sparring matches are basically what they are, sparring matches. It's not a serious fight. It's not people fighting for their lives. So I'm not going to take those as gospel for people's skill. That being said, though, we do have some honorable mentions. Kev, if you want to cover your honorable mentions too, I know we both brought two.
Yeah, so my honorable mention for the list is going to be Sage, who is part of the X-Men team. Her ability is basically being a supercomputer in their mind, and what she's been able to do is during fights against martial artists, she's been able to upload all the information about their martial art and at the same time figure out ways to beat it and be better with it than those she's been facing. And alongside her are Karnak, that I put up. Part of the Inhumans, we know, and his ability allows him to essentially find any weakness at any point, whether it be a regular person or a skyscraper from what we've seen. Even in cases of telepathy, like he did against Jean Grey. What about you, Sammy?
My two honorable mentions are people with basically no appearances. First is Junzo Muto. He's an immortal weapon. I'm not sure if he was considered a mutant, but I know he does have an absorption ability. He was actually able to beat Danny Rand, Iron Fist, who may or may not be on the list later on, and absorb all of the chi abilities that he was able to use. But obviously, like I said, he has 7 appearances, so he's not going to really have enough feats for us to properly put him on the list. And that's like another character, Cat, who he's like works for the Chinese government. He's supposedly a top-tier martial arts prodigy. And basically his only feat is fighting on par with Shang Chi, who's basically the reason that we made this video. One of the best martial artists in all of Marvel. Like Danny, we're probably going to see him later in the list. But just like Junzo Muto, he doesn't really have enough appearances to put him on the list proper. But starting with that proper list, we're going to start at our number 10, which is going to be Taskmaster. Now, obviously he was in the new Black Widow. He's gotten a lot of exposure recently, but he's been a badass throughout all of his appearances. He's got photographic memory, and basically his reflexes kind of allow him to copy skills and actions that he's seen and perform them within seconds of seeing them. Like Cat, he's a prodigy, but he's on a completely different level. He can do it with voices, agility, stealth. Obviously, importantly for this list, he can do it with skill. He's even done it with chi masters, people that can literally radiate energy through willpower. He can just completely copy it. They worked on their craft for 10 years, and he can copy it in a few seconds and get at least a little bit of a grasp on how to use it. That just kind of speaks to how well he's able to copy martial arts, is that he can copy a literal metahuman ability and just use it off top. I mean, he's copied people before, top tier martial artists, Bullseye, Captain America, Daredevil, Elektra, Iron Fist, Shang Chi, literally the list. I could make this single entry 10 minutes long just by listing the people that he's copied. He can also switch from style to style in mid-combat, and he could probably fight anybody on the list above him. And I know a lot of you are probably saying, he can copy any martial art, so obviously he's the best martial artist in Marvel. But we kind of think he lacks the raw objective martial arts feats, and his retention of his memories is a little bit arguable because it's been stated a few times that he deletes memories to make rooms for others. And a lot of his feats of copying, the pinnacle of Marvel's most skilled martial artists, he kind of does lack a lot of showings in that area. But he does definitely have enough to put him on this list. But who do you have for number 9, Kev?
Thanks for asking. Number 9, I got the incredible mutant Mr. X. He was gifted with low-level telepathy, and this allowed him to basically read the minds of his opponents for the majority of his life when he finally unlocked the ability. At first, it doesn't seem that big of a deal until you see that who he's fought. Thanks to this ability, he's been able to curb stomp or fight evenly against several of Marvel's top contenders who may or may not appear on this list. One of them being, as you just mentioned, Taskmaster. A person who failed to make it onto the list was Wolverine and Black Widow. As though they are very lethal in their own right, they do not have the same capability of martial arts as everybody else that we've listed so far, including honorable mentions. Even though he has this ability to read the minds and essentially outskill a majority of the people that he's faced, he's still hit with certain issues, like, for example, Iron Fist, who used the Drunken style to allow him to get the upper hand on Mr. X, only because the Drunken style is wildly unpredictable, and the telepathy had no way of predicting any of the movements, so that put him at a major handicap. But what do you have for number 8?
Yeah, I mean, for number 8, we have another character that does not have a lot of showings, but he is an immortal weapon like Iron Fist, who we've previously mentioned on the list. That's Fat Cobra. And he has actually defeated Iron Fist himself, though he was distracted. Honestly, Fat Cobra is treated as kind of like a weapon of mass destruction almost. Shield 6 him on people, and he's fought some of the top tiers in all of Marvel in like gladiatorial combat. And he's able to use chi manipulation. He's a master of chi manipulation, and he's been studying it for decades. In terms of martial arts, he's really portrayed as like a huge powerhouse in Marvel. And though he does lack showings, like a lot of the showings that he does have against people that we'll see later on this list will kind of justify his placement here at number 8. And obviously this is a pretty short placement, but our next one, T'Challa, Black Panther. And he's one of the most popular heroes now. I mean, he's debuted in the MCU and he has his own solo movie. But in the comics, obviously, since he's on this list, one of the top tier characters in terms of martial arts. He's destroyed Karnak, and considering Karnak was in the honorable mentions, he was able to defeat him. It's pretty impressive. He kept up with a bloodlusted Iron Fist.
Yeah, alongside that, he's also been able to take care of a Super Skrull single-handedly in the midst of a war, if I recall. Just with his skill alone, even though the Super Skrull has enhanced durability and superpowers, just with his martial arts alone, he was capable of forcing the bone of the elbow out of the body, which I don't understand how that would work, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of that like stupid stuff, that stupid impossible stuff that people accomplish with just martial arts. And I mean, that's not the only superhuman he's been able to harm with his martial arts. He's a master of nerve strikes. I mean, he's even harmed Luke Cage, he's not one of the most durable characters in Marvel, but he's definitely one of the characters whose durability is
with how Marvel
emphasized.
treats Luke Cage, they make him seem to be very durable in most regards, and they like to, like you said, they like to emphasize it, so him being able to do that in the first place is kind of insane.
And of course, we all know that Black Panther can subdue Silver Surfer with only grappling. I mean, come on.
So number 6, we got another lovely mutant, Tomi Shishido, aka Gorgon. He's a genius, it's simple to put it. A lot of the stuff that he's done has been mostly because his brain just processes everything at a faster rate than most people could understand. But we're not here to talk about... I talked about his genius, but Gorgon by himself, at the age of 14, he was able to become one of the top 5 martial artists in Japan, and as time went on, he eventually rose to be a part of the Hand, a super criminal organization that's stationed for most of Asia. But he was only able to do so because he showed them how good he was in hand-to-hand combat along with his martial arts. So much so that he eventually tangled with some of the top martial artists in Marvel, one of those being Shang Chi. Shang Chi's admitted that he would not be able to face Gorgon in a one-on-one confrontation because Gorgon is that skilled in what he does, excluding his mutant ability, which may be the reasoning that Shang-Chi said it, but he's really known for his martial arts capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, and he's even beat people that we mentioned earlier in the list, like Wolverine. I mean, he completely destroyed Wolverine when he had help.
Wolverine had a whole bunch of people on his side, and Gorgon just completely demolished them.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, he had another top-tier martial artist like Elektra with him at the time. And I mean, if this was a top 20 list, we'd probably include 100%. Elektra.
Elektra's she's just good. She's just that lethal at what she does, and that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's just all you can say is that she's good. Like, that's it. Like, and he kind of treated her like she was nothing.
But now, coming up for number 5 on the list, we got Danny Rand, aka the Iron Fist. I know a lot of you have been wondering where the hell this guy's going to be on the list, but we've got him at number 5.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's already beaten people that are on this list, like Mr. X.
With all the martial arts that he's learned throughout his life, it's kind of hard to pin down someone who could beat him in martial arts.
Yeah, I mean, like he's like that's the whole focus of his character.
We got like 4 other people above him, but at the same time, that's his character. Well, him and one other person, that's just his character. He's just that good.
Yeah, and I mean, like I feel like anybody in the top 5 could probably give an even fight to each other. So it's really like minuscule differences going from here.
The top 5 is kind of interchangeable in my opinion for some placements, but at this point, it's down to us looking at the objective feats that they've given us more so than what they're capable of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he has fought characters on this list, and the next character that we're going to cover, which is Shang Chi, number 4, he's fought him evenly, but the reason that we put Shang Chi above him is because Danny Rand actually admitted himself that he is inferior, and other characters like T'Challa that are on this list have said that Shang-Chi is not only the best martial artist in the world, but superior to Danny Rand in terms of technique. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess we should probably just move on to him now that we're on number 4. And like I said, like Danny even admitted inferiority, so I mean, it obviously makes sense he's going to be up here. But even characters like Domino, who, I mean, she's not a top-tier Marvel martial artist, but she is definitely trained. She couldn't land a hit on him after hours of fighting him.
In their solo series, it's just, in Domino's solo series, she went directly to him so that she could somehow control her powers with martial arts, which, doesn't sound like they mix, but eventually he was able to help her. And I mean, it's a strange thing to think about that martial arts is somehow having a hand in controlling Domino's luck manipulation.
I mean, like, it's not the first superhuman that he's trained, though. I mean, he developed the Way of the Spider with Spider-Man, and it's not exactly, like, one-to-one comparison, but the fact that he's known for creating specific martial arts to suit specific powers just kind of speaks to his martial arts experience. Not to mention that he's been called, like I said, by other people, the greatest martial artist on Earth. So, I mean, that's pretty clear-cut in my opinion. He can even exert his will on, like, superhumans like Spider-Man just using martial arts.
Imagine if there were, like, 10 of them, which there were at some point during Avengers World when he got them duplicating superpower, but we don't need to go too deep into detail, but...
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. But I mean, like I said, yeah, Shang-Chi is definitely the strongest martial artist on Earth, but that's the reason I said on Earth is because our number 3 is Mantis. Now, she is born as the perfect human, but she isn't technically an Earthling, I wouldn't think. I don't think of her as an Earth-based hero. Yeah,
I mean, it's like saying Peter Quill is the best marksman on Earth. I mean, he's from Earth, but he's part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. They travel the universe together.
Yeah, exactly. And like Mantis's extraterrestrial origins are kind of the reason she's on this list. Characters that have had experience outside of Earth, like throughout the galaxy, learning different and completely out of this world martial arts, generally have a huge advantage over characters that only learn earthly martial arts. Like, I mean, Mantis has insane nerve strikes. She was capable of completely knocking out classic Thor just with nerve strikes, just by blocking the nerve strikes in his throat. And I mean, they're so good that she can completely explode nerve clusters, like just by punching through plated armor. So like the precision and like I said, she's a perfect human, so everything she does is basically no wasted movement.
Yeah,
and your boy Karnak from the honorable mentions also got beat by her as well, so he's not being treated too well by the people on this list.
Let's not forget that she was also fighting Swordmaster, I believe, and her son, part of the classic Avengers roster back in the day, but now with more of an amp because they had brought him back to life. And they is someone I don't need to get into. Yeah.
The Kotati. Yeah, we don't need to talk about them.
I'm not even gonna
They're on the moon for a reason. And honestly, like, the swordsman does have like his own pretty decent skill feats, and the fact that she was able to fight her son, who's probably pretty skilled on his own, considering he was trained by the Kotatsu to be like their messiah. Fighting them both at the same time is incredibly impressive. Plus, she's a master of Kree martial arts. She can fight subconsciously to completely nullify telepathy, so people like Mr. X on the list probably aren't going to want to fight her at all. And she's fought, just a little spoiler alert, she's fought on par with the next two people on the list.
Alright, next up we got Moondragon, the incredibly powerful telepath that roams the galaxy, or I guess with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they've been everywhere at this point.
Yeah, and this is another instance of a character beating another character on the list. So she's actually defeated Mantis. She did state that Mantis was the hardest fight that she's ever had, but she did even defeat Mantis with her own technique.
Besides Mantis, she's completely decimated Jean Grey and Psylocke in close quarters combat, which Jean Grey, albeit not super known for being close quarters combat heavy, but her telekinesis usually helps her out with that. But with Psylocke, on the other hand, we're talking about a chick who's been trained years of nothing but assassination techniques and anything that would put her over the edge with the blade. It's just, when you think of Psylocke, you think of best people on Earth that will get their job done, and if they botch it, they can still back it up with close quarters combat to trying to finish off the enemy.
Yeah, and I mean, just the fact that she was portrayed as able to completely foderize almost Jean Grey, who's honestly a pretty protected character in Marvel, just kind of shows how she's portrayed in terms of close quarters combat. And on top of that, she's completely stomped Steve Rogers, who granted didn't have the super soldier serum, but he's still pretty skilled by himself, and she just completely treated him like nothing.
And on top of Steve Rogers, she's more skilled than Asgard's top warriors, and she surpassed all the martial artists on the planet Titan.
Yeah, she did lose to Valkyrie, though. Kind of weird comics warning. Valkyrie was made out of Thor's madness or rage at the time, so it's kind of questionable whether she'd be on the same level as the regular Valkyrie or whether she's stronger. We're not entirely sure, but I would say that a lot of Valkyrie's superior stats, considering that they were kind of emphasizing that in that fight, because while she was fighting Valkyrie, Thor was fighting Gamora, and they were trying to kind of emphasize that raw power can overpower skill. So I think that's more of an instance of that in that fight.
And considering she's done all this, after many of the feats that we listed, she eventually fused with another perfect version of herself, which effectively amped herself up to high health.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can become more perfect than perfect, but two perfect people fusing together essentially just makes her a goddess.
Yeah, I mean, this might be some symbolism that Marvel is pulling, but I'm not a part of the creative team, so I can't really think of a reasoning of how this would work.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, she's one of the most powerful telepaths in Marvel as well, so she's not just known for her CQC.
But the next person we're bringing up is very known for her CQC, and why don't you take it away?
Yeah, this is the #1 most skilled character, in our opinion, in the entire Marvel Universe. It's the daughter of Thanos, Gamora. I mean, she is literally perfect in terms of martial arts. Like, I don't think you could ask for much more powerful. She defeats entire armies. And, I mean, dude, like, she's insane. She fights characters of, like, a cosmic level just using martial arts. And obviously she has her cybernetic enhancements from Thanos, but the characters she fights, like Phil Lavelle and Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, like, people that should be much more powerful than her, but she still exerts her will over them, just using skill.
Yeah, just straight up showing that even though you do have more power than her, that any amount of skill, well, not any amount, but if enough training with what she's known can easily put her over the likes of who you've said.
Yeah, I mean, and characters that we've covered previously, like Shang Chi, Iron Fist, Taskmaster, they've been completely overpowered by power advantages before. And not that Gamora hasn't, but there's much more instances of her showing that she can bridge the gap in stats with just raw skill. And honestly, I would say that she even probably has the best nerve strikes in all of Marvel. Like, she's harmed the Thing with it. That's something that even Moondragon, the previous entry, has failed to do.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous thinking that you could hit someone's nerve when they're entirely composed of rock.
But yeah, I mean, that's how we mentioned previously. Like, people just be doing anime stuff with martial arts. And on top of everything that we've already stated, she's famously known for having a knowledge of 83% of literally every martial arts technique in the Marvel Universe. Just thinking about that just really puts it into perspective.
I want to know the person who decided to count and figure out the percentage of that, but I mean, I'm not going to go against it because she could most likely beat me up with just her pinky.
Yeah, in our opinion, Gamora, bar none, the best fighter in all of Marvel, and not to mention she has fought Mantis and Moondragon as well in the past and seemed to be doing just fine. But yeah, even other characters in the top tier of this list, she's shown no problem fighting. And her objective feats kind of speak for themselves, so yeah, I mean, other than that, do you have anything to say about any of the fighters that we've gone through?
I mean, I don't really have an issue with the list that we've made. I feel like we've looked at it as well as we can, and I mean, there's always going to be someone that we might not notice until someone else points it out.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that we included the people that have 7 appearances in our honorable mentions. I mean, technically you could argue that, like, people like I was mentioning, Junzo Muto and Kat, they could possibly be on the list since they have fought the people in the top 5, but they don't have enough appearances. So if you have any ideas on people that we've missed, definitely leave them in the comments. Give us a like. Follow us on TikTok. We're at Big Battle Boys on pretty much every single social media platform.
Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We're slowly trying to build a following on multiple platforms of media, but the more exposure out there, the better. There's more of us doing these videos, and hopefully we can get a big enough following that it inspires us to put out more videos.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming and talking about this with me today. I hope everybody has a good night.
Have a good night,
thanks
everyone.
for watching.